Hello. Today I wanted to cover the topic of the fear of public speaking. I meet a lot of people who come to me and say they have this fear of public speaking. What I want you to know is that the fear of public speaking is very, very common. In fact, I do say that 90% of speakers have a fear of public speaking. The rest 10% are liars. It's true. I've never met a person who at some point in time didn't have a fear of public speaking. In other words, almost everyone do have some kind of fear, some kind of anxiety, some kind of nervousness. Now, it may sound strange, but I too had the fear of public speaking, and I believe that there's something you need to know before you can overcome your fear of public speaking. Now, firstly, it's very important to know that the fear of public speaking is very common. In fact, I always say that 90% of all speakers at some point in their lives has faced the fear of public speaking. You should also understand the reason behind the fear of public speaking. If you believe in the theory of evolution, all of us we are all products of evolution, from lower life forms to higher life forms. So if you look at the animal kingdom, it can give you some insights on the fear of public speaking. You see, you probably have read about the fight or flight response in the presence of a threat. When it comes to public speaking, you are coming and standing in front of an audience which you are not familiar with, or probably you're familiar with, and still you have this sense of nervousness, a sense of performance anxiety. And this arises because when you are standing in front of the audience, you are under threat. You are under the threat because you feel that you are going to be judged, you're afraid you're going to fail, and if science is to be believed, the responses associated, the bodily responses that associated with the fear of public speaking is exactly the same as the fear you have when your life is under threat. So the responses to the fear are threefold. One is fight, second is flight, third is freeze. I still remember the first time I attempted to do public speaking. I stood up in front of the audience and I froze. I could not utter a single word. I spent 5 minutes and then I left and went back to sit down. Humiliated, frustrated, upset, disappointed. The third thing I wanted to tell you is that even very famous individuals at some point in their lives have faced the fear of public speaking. And this is one point I would like to highlight. If you have seen the movie The Transformers, it was an international blockbuster. Do you know who is the director of that movie? It's a guy by the name Michael Bay. And recently Michael Bay was invited by the Korean electronics giant Samsung to launch their latest TV. This was an event held in Las Vegas. And this was the event that would have launched the TV, and They called him Michael Bay because he gives a lot of credence and he had experience, and if he endorses that product, it's very clear that it adds value to the launch, and when he endorses the product, it definitely boosts the chances of selling that product. Now just watch what happened when Michael Bay was invited on stage to speak about the product Samsung was trying to launch. Watch the video, and after that I'll come back to explain what we can learn from that experience.
What inspires you? How do you come up with these unbelievable ideas?
I create visual worlds that are so beyond everyone's normal life experiences. And Hollywood is a place that creates a viewer escape. And what I try to do is, as a director, I try to... the type is all off, sorry, but I'll just wing this.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, we'll wing it right now. I try to take people on an emotional ride, and
The Curve? How do you think it's going to impact how viewers experience your movies?
excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Michael Bay for joining us. So,
welcome back. Now, the reason I showed you Michael Bay's video is not to show him in poor light. Definitely not. His achievements are far, far greater than mine and perhaps yours. But the point I wanted to highlight is that even very famous people, even people who have achieved great in their lives, been through difficult struggles, they too can be affected by the fear of public speaking. As I said before, there are three responses: fight, flight, or freeze. If you noticed Michael Bay, he first started to freeze, especially because his tape, which he wanted to rely on, did not work. Then eventually he had this response of flight. That's when he walked off from the stage. As I said, this can happen to anyone. But if you notice and look back, the questions he was asked was very direct and very simple. What inspires you to make these excellent movies? And the second question was, what do you think about this product? Both those questions were relatively simple for him given his broad experience and expertise in this field. But what went wrong was that he was trying to be perfect. He wanted to say the right words in the right way, in the right style, so he could impress the audience. What happened was he lost the purpose of the speech, the reason for the question, and the message that should have come out from his heart. Again, this is something which can happen to anyone. But my point I want to highlight is, don't try to be perfect every time you speak. If you notice, today as I record this, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. Remember, one, the fear of public speaking is very common. And as I said, almost every person I knew at some point in their life has faced this fear of public speaking. Secondly, the responses to the fear of public speaking are fight, flight, or freeze. And eventually you want to fight and face your fear of public speaking. Thirdly, remember, you are not alone. Even very famous people, very successful people, at some point in their lives have faced this fear. Obviously, there are several strategies you can use to overcome the fear of public speaking. But one of the core strategies to overcome the fear of public speaking is to speak regularly, to speak more often, and to speak as and when you can. Because the more you speak, the less nervous you become, the more confidence you gain. Back to the video of Michael Bay. It's unfortunate for him that he had to go through this and possibly frustrated and humiliated and disappointed and upset with what happened. But what happened to him is not so important as what is he going to do next after this incident. Is he going to hide in a shell of nervousness, or is he going to take the next step and speak again with more confidence, to speak more often, to seek help? What about you? Do you have a fear of public speaking? If so, what is going to be your next step?